So that's a good point, and I think the point you made was good. But I do agree a little bit on the privacy issue, right? So if you look at the United States, you're right. An insurance company picks up your data, but medical records, they're so particular about privacy that they will not even share it with the spouse or the parent or the child, right? If you go to a doctor. And people are very particular about it. Now, the flip side is that, yes, the same people will probably, put up everything on Facebook, but I think it comes to a question of what I'm allowing to be used for decisions that will impact my life. So if you now say, listen, if I put it up on Facebook, that's fine, but if you start now, telling me that I'll get a loan with a higher interest rate because my ability to live will be that much lesser, that starts impacting me. So I think it's a gray area. Yeah. And privacy, I think right now, it's the jury's out there which way it'll go, but there is a lot of debate around privacy, right? Because a little while ago, everyone, even on the alternate data side, and since big data is something we've kind of all of us mentioned a little bit, there was this whole view that, you can scrape SMSs and you get all that information. And I think 12 months ago, literally, everyone was talking about that, right?
That geospatial location, there's a...
Yeah. You can. The point I was making, though, was scraping data and scraping SMSs. There has been a little bit of shift on that, too, saying that, listen, you have no business unless I give you permission to do this, right? Or that the fine print is so small for apps that pick up all my data, customers are not happy about it, right? So it's a gray area in terms of what can be used for something I don't give permission for it to be used for, or I don't explicitly give permission, for example. So I think that's kind of what the debate is.
I was making a point around the bill that was passed in the US Senate or is being passed on the geospatial location, right? They argued that nobody reads what the terms and conditions are. We just say, okay, how many of us do that, right, when we download an app? So this will affect Uber drastically because they will not be allowed to pick locations, and even Google Maps for that matter. So they are saying that whatever we share, even our location, is a security privacy issue. So
right. Yeah, and I think it's a fascinating debate, and I'm sure if we keep discussing it, it's a topic of its own as well, right? But there are some both sides to the story. So moving on, I mean, one thing which I think we want to talk about, again, it's part of the evolving sort of landscape and evolving business models, is this whole what is called as the API or banking as an API, right? Or banking as a platform, which is one of the things that we spoke about, which is actually led or driven by APIs. So we spoke about trading as a service as well, right? So would be very keen to see again. I mean, there is a global context here as well, right? For example, if you see Europe, there is this new regulation which is coming up called as PSD2, which is almost going to force banks API, right? And that's happening by 2017, 2018 timeframe, right? So interesting times for techies to be doing those kind of engagements. So are we seeing that in India as well? I know there are some good examples of that. Yes Bank is not represented here, but they've done some good things around API. But what do you guys feel about API or banking as a platform?
So for any system, we should work forever or for some accepted time period. It has to be architectured properly. The architecture of any system, I would say, even software system, it has to be properly. So API is a kind of an application program interface for a service. Okay, so few banks are doing it, as Bank or RBL is doing it. They have got awards also for doing that, and it's really good practice. So let's take example of TCB Bank, what we are doing. So what we are doing here, like we are coming with one of the omni-channel framework. So core banking is the backend. So on top of that, we are going to come up with an omni-channel framework. So it will expose the APIs. So for example, let's take example of the balance inquiry. It is a single API which is being exposed and consumed by mobile banking or internet banking or manless branches which will come in the future, or any other service which we want to offer. So that way I am going to save some kind of an redevelopment of that particular service. Earlier what used to happen, like same balance inquiry is deployed, suppose SMS banking, it is having separate route to talk with the core banking, or a missed call service, it has a separate route to talk with the core banking. And to maintain that, some change request is coming there. So it is a duplicate effort. So, if it is the 3 channels, triplicate effort. That is how.
Right.
So slowly, all the banks are understanding the use of the APIs, how that can be used, and as well as understanding the use of the omni-channel frameworks, so that all the channels interoperable has to be talking with each other.
Right.
I am surfing something on a mobile while driving back to home that I want to buy a laptop. So I end up reaching at home and I open my laptop and search it because I can see a proper view of that particular thing which I want to buy on the laptop. And ultimately I end up calling the call center, asking what's the particular. So call center guy says, you tried searching that particular thing on that day, this day. Okay, then I'll be surprised how, because it is the magic of omni-channel. And at the end, suppose you turn up to visit a nearest store and he says, welcome so and so, here is the things which you are searching. Do you want to see this or this, that? So that is how the ZaaS or the experience for the end user.
Right.
So this is all because of the services which are exposed around across various channels. So you can see the magic business value of that, and certainly it is going to be the future.
Vikas, any thoughts from your side? I think you have been, okay. No worries.
Yes.
Sure.
We're talking about open APIs, aren't we?
Yes.
Okay, but I think you were referring to internal APIs.
Right. Right. I think there are 2 dimensions. I think what I was talking more about was from an external perspective, almost like a plug and play type of an architecture. You want to talk about that? I think how that's been done.
So we are big proponents of open APIs, where APIs are truly open to the end users, not just intra-organizational modules. So traditionally, fintech has been slow to evolve. The evolution is happening, and I think it's been because of certain monopolies or whatever, right? For example, as a stockbroker, we started off with a vendor-based trading platform, and you can probably trace that platform back to 1992 when it was built, and they kept patching it up. And I'm sure that can be said of banking as well. Probably not wrong. So, and trading is a high risk thing, unlike banking where your money is just there. So people make and lose money every day, mostly lose, unfortunately. So and people have been for the last decade struggling to get the data out. It's their own data, their own money, their own losses, but held hostage within old, obsolete vendor-based platforms. And people have been struggling. So we've just launched India's first completely open trading API. So our clients do not have to use any platforms that we build. They don't have to, they're not tied to anything. They don't even have to look at our website. They just get the APIs. They can pull their account details. They can place real trades, all of that. So I think the point is it's the user's data. And as an organization, we don't really have any rights to hold it hostage. Secondly, we've realized that for the actual revolution, at least in investment and trading to happen, we can't do it all ourselves. We can't, make the best looking apps, or we can't make the best looking trading platforms. Other people, other startups, other entrepreneurs who have the skills have to be able to do it without entry barriers. And that's basically the second key reason we found for opening up the APIs.
More examples which we are doing. IMPC is one of the widely accepted fund transfer channel which is being given by NPCI to the India. So there are some of the people or some of the companies which don't have access to the IMPS service. They can't implement at their end. For example, cooperative banks or some of the BCs or the agent banks. So we have offered those APIs to them, and we manage like how much they are consuming, how many times, and we can see it's a huge amount of revenues we are making on that.
Yeah, so it's a very
so
interesting
if it is API was not available, it's nothing, we can't do anything on top of that. Similarly, let's take example of the UPI which has come up. So it is also an API driven.
Right.
So today I have implemented a UPI. I can definitely offer that service to the people, and there are lines of people who are demanding we want to use that.
Right.
So that is another example.
Right. I'll just do a time check. I think in interest of time, probably
we'll move ahead. So definitely interesting conversation on some of the important questions arising in the fintech space. Just a quick one here. Just wanted to know if Salman Khan is going to get married anytime soon. Sorry, maybe that was the wrong round table
We are in
card.
Mumbai.
I just wanted to see if people are awake a little bit. But is this working for people? Yeah, we are sort of moving into the last leg of this. The point or the area where we want to talk about for the next few minutes is how are financial firms reacting to this? Right. So that's the sort of the overarching theme, and a couple of questions that we will be discussing. So the first one being, how are you institutionalizing innovation within your organization? So how are you getting IT business to come closer together, collaborating with fintech? You know, what are your thoughts on what's going on in the industry? What are you guys doing?
From our colleagues from Cash as well a lot.
Yeah.
It's changing day by day. Previously it was just a mobile screen. Now no one wants to, previously it was just computer. Now no one wants to do a transaction on computer anywhere. Now everyone uses mobile to do a transaction. So it's just click away. They don't want to make any place, anywhere they want to do a transaction. So
Right.
business and the mobility is the best. These things I can tell you.
Almost like mobile phones.
Mobile phones. Everyone use the mobiles. And the best example is API. Again, we expose one API which will be available for internet, which is available for mobile, all the platforms like BBPI or Bharat Bijli once comes out. So now it's a single platform where you can pay all your bills and all the collect data and all the everything.
Right.
So you just call the NPCI API, you will get everything.
Right. Yeah, I think the question really is that while that is, yes, sir, please.
Yeah, so to institutionalize innovation, I think there are, the old paradigm was that technology will bring to business whatever they find some fancy solution. I think it should be the other way around, the horse before the cart, because if you engage business, and I'll tell you one specific example where we have a concept of Shark Tank,
Yeah.
where business will come up with the idea, you collaborate, we assign resources, like we actually have a what we call as a priority tool, where we assign resources, business and technology work together, it gets presented to a wider audience, they vote, and then it's like a buzz or an excitement, like a tech fair,
Right.
where these solutions are presented, voted, what contribution did they make actually to the business. So business feels happy because they are in the driver's seat. Technology acts as someone who is, collaborating, and that's one way. And to
Yeah, I agree with you, and we are doing that.
Right.
you're
So how
from RBL?
frequently?
Yeah, so any examples you can share?
So I can share some of the examples like, so I would say the last financial year was treated as an technology year within a bank. As
Okay.
MD has said, ki this year will be a technology year, we'll come up with a lot of things. So we have come up with a lot of things. But how about the adoption? Who is going to use that? ठीक है, mobile banking बना दिया, miss call बना दिया, or whether people are aware of that particular service, or IMPS is done on a branch. Like we will be the second bank in India, like 2 branches पे implement किया, private bank. So branch में जाके पूछो कि like whether this service is available, are you using it? No. So what we have done in initial stage, we started a program. We called it as a Tech Fluence. Okay, so wherein we invited all the top management team across the India, and we throughout the day we shown them all the deliveries we have done, demonstrated them, asked them to use. Okay, let's use missed call, do this. Let's use mobile banking. So people who were not using it by force, ठीक है, and some people interestingly they have started using it.
Right.
They went back, okay, to their respective regions. Now they have started demanding. We also want to know. We also want to know. So we have started engaging, sending our team of 5 people, technology team, right? I'm not asking of the business teams. They went there in that particular region. Suppose there are 20 branches, all the branch managers and key people from those branches come all together, 40, 50 people, seeing all those demos and applications, come up with, as he said, come up with a suggestion. Customer ऐसे चाहते हैं, customer wants this and that. So that is how the more innovations coming or more suggestion coming, and product becomes robust, and actually adoption of the product also is happening. So that is one of the way.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
Again, I'm not a banker, so my perspective is more from what I'm seeing at customer location. So a couple of places where this is really happening well is where they have taken that first plunge on unblocking some of these things and breaking the silos. So if you look at any IT setup within any organization, the chances are that business talks to a set of IT folks, and then they have service providers like infrastructure providers, then there are technology teams. So where this has worked well is where the teams have become smaller and they're fully sufficient within themselves, and there are no blockages, where they are able to collaborate within each other much more fluidly as compared to waiting on the other partner to. And we've worked with a bunch of global banks here who have captive centers, and they are redefining the way businesses serve using technology, and business and technology working on things together. The other thing which I have seen happening now is the cultural shift of not stigmatizing failures. So failure is accepted. Unless you go out and find something, you're never going to find it. So it's not going to be really well defined. So when we start on the innovation agenda itself, it's fairly hazy in the beginning. You might have some idea of an outcome that you want to achieve, but you would not know whether that is the outcome you want to or you would achieve at the end of it. So defining metrics before actually solving a problem is something that people are avoiding, saying that let's try and talk to customers, which is the big change that I'm seeing, that businesses are wanting to talk to customers, take their feedback and build software or solution around their context and around people who are actually going to use this. So one is unblocking, second is fluidity, and third is smaller teams. Really is the way innovation is happening in places at least where I am engaged.
Any other examples of where people are redefining their operating models, and especially business IT collaboration, verticalizing it to remove the blockages?
Just add one point there. Innovation as is, yes, small teams, group of people who are directed well. But one key factor there in a small setup like Scriptbox, or I assume that would be same for Zerodha, would be we gather lot of information from current marketing trends that we see day to day. It's in sometimes it is actually we track it hourly. But what we do see is after we start on a certain pilot, we track it to an extent where we take feedback from each person, each user or each session. So that drives some of the momentum that we want to build into the product itself. That is techno marketing, if I may call it. That is one of the ways that we learn and earn what we want to build into the product.
Yeah, a great point, and lots of techniques being used for that, right? A/B testing being one of them, which is an interesting segue into the second segment of this, which is, in order to do all of this, there is also a lot of software excellence that needs to be brought into the way these applications are built. Perhaps even the shape of those applications is going to evolve, and maybe even self-evolve. Maybe self-evolving applications or intelligent applications that can morph based on what is working and what is not working within the application. What features are people using? What features are people not using? Rapidly evolving those applications, building releases very fast, building pipelines to develop those applications really fast using continuous integration, delivery, DevOps, some of those aspects coming in. Do people see those getting introduced into your organizations? Especially interested in hearing this from some of the guys, Vikas, SBI, yeah, I think
he just left.
He just left, is it? Bhuvanesh, HDFC, anything you see coming in from the software excellence point of view into your organization?
Actually, continue with the previous and add this thing also. So I think what we are doing at SDFC Life is we have various functions who constantly keep on exploring what's happening outside. They try and see how that can be applied. Wherever we see any meaningful application, we go ahead on POCs. Last few months, what we have started doing is various digital initiatives which are being run together. Which are being run in various functions. They are being supported by IT. But what we started doing is we all get together as a group, have a joint governance. So we share whatever the learnings are. So let's say, if you are doing something with, just giving an example in Fitbit. So is it something which could be applied in various functions? What have been the learning? So let's say if you are doing robotics, So what has been an experience on desktop automation or cognitive or OCR, so that everybody learns what somebody would have done in a particular function, what are the enablers which are required, maybe from IT, maybe from strategy function, maybe from finance, because many times you don't know how to go ahead with these things. Carrying on, coming on to the framework,
excellence.
the software
Yeah,
side.
software aspect.
I think it's an evolving space where, let's say, until a couple of weeks back, when I was speaking to some of the partners who are trying to develop apps, so people would come back and talk about how they're doing. But as we are becoming more and more educated, we are realizing that you already have people who are having mobile offerings or mobile backends as a service. So what you're talking in context of APIs, so you have a lot of mobile capabilities which are available readily as a API on a platform where you do not have to develop these things, and you can readily pick and plug and play and roll out and learn from there what capability is being used, what is not being used, what you should turn around and things like that.
So you're using frameworks as well. So not starting.
Colleagues from Central, I mean, you guys,
Yeah.
what is your opinion on software excellence, innovation?
No, that softwares are developed with a passage of time. They are tested. A couple of testings are done, or even more are done, and then they are run. And the people who are running it, the software, their opinions are also taken, and the customers' opinion are taken, and they are constantly being upgraded.
Okay. To Prasanna's point, are you actually testing these out in branches? Are you creating, actually there is an example in one of the videos that we were playing earlier of a pop-up studio, sort of popping up something, putting up a table inside the branch, trying some things out, showing people prototypes and seeing if they are actually, implement, if those features or those ideas will be useful, and getting some real-time feedback rather than sort of developing it for months and then getting the feedback. So are people trying rapid ways of collecting feedback from users? There was another example that ScriptBobs talked about as well. But in terms of branch transformation, are people trying ways of getting feedback faster from users? Any other ideas that people are using? Yeah.
We don't really have branches, but we've been doing this directly with our clients. So we form groups. We've been forming client groups, like limited beta testing, alpha testing groups. And if we are building a product, let's say that takes 6 months to come out, we actually do not wait 6 months. In the second month, we give it out to group A. In the third month, we give it out to group B, and we incorporate that feedback. And we found that clients appreciate it. They like being a part of the whole thing, and it works better for us than us creating our own groups and within the company. So it's just worked well for us so far.
Yeah, I agree with his point. And for financial systems which we deliver to the end user, it should not have any flaw. So we test it thoroughly in some of the closed user groups before actually it goes to the end user customers.
Then what we have a channel in the market. What we do, just run a pilot to our selected outlets and ask their feedback. Okay, this is what we are going to launch. Is it okay with you, or what all new feature you have in your mind and should be there in the application? So they just try it for a few days, and then we collect that feedback. Fine, whatever given to you was okay, or you want some new feature, and what are the bugs are there. So they tell us, because they are the actual end customer who day in day out doing all these things. So they give us the right feedback.
Okay, Mayur, you had a point.
So again, not really a banker's perspective, but what I've been seeing across industries. So to your point on software excellence, that will absolutely be needed. People do need scalable systems. Prasanna spoke about how it has to be scalable, not just across users, but it has to be scalable across years. You need to do things fairly rapidly. So the turnaround cycle has to be extremely agile. You need quality comfort that, and especially in the finance space, especially in the BFSI space, security is extremely important. So all the software excellence, all the practices that you put in place, they absolutely have to take care of any and every aspect of security. So there's the privacy angle and then there's a security angle, and both of them together is an even larger debate that needs to be kept in mind. The other paradigm that needs to be kept in mind in holistic software is to, like Neela was also talking about tech marketing, and design plays a big role there. So what's your design excellence? How are you keeping it simple? How are you demystifying some of these things? So design becoming a part of this, and then data enabling some of these things across the board. So all of these things coming together are going to be really important in how these things shape up over the next 2 or 3 years.
Okay, I think that nicely summarizes some of the some of the discussions as well, right? I think it's a fascinating space, it's a evolving space, and all the known sort of beliefs are being challenged as well. So I think it's been a great sort of to have all of you here, very, very spirited sort of discussions as well. So thank you all for participating in these discussion. Yeah. So yes, you want to hand it over to Deepak? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Thanks, Amit, Prakash, and can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Thanks. And thank you to everyone, all of you, for coming out here and making this a great evening, great interaction. Now, I thought that it's all done after this conversation, but we've got dinner and a networking session. We can all interact. I know I'm coming between the dinner and the networking session, and you, all of you, right now. But they said
the bar is open as well. By
the bar is open as well, and they said that I'll have to do a closing or a thank you note, and I said I'll come and do a thank you. They said no, that doesn't work. You'll have to speak something more. And Gautam, we're going to talk about that. Done a great job organizing things. Gautam and Anup, they've not introduced themselves. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you all of you for coming here. I'll just summarize 2 points. It's very difficult to make a, any kind of addition to what we've discussed so far. I'm not really a banker. I'm not really a technologist either. But since I've been asked to talk about a couple of things, I'll just talk about 2 things that come to my mind. In all my interactions with CIOs, chief digital officers across industries, some of them from banking and insurance industry in the last year or so, one interesting thing has come to the fore, not a very technology oriented thing, but something that I learned from them. I just want to place that out here to the audience. So we talked about technology equal to business in the past. I'll just take a contrarian view about, technology also understanding the business. Most of the successful CDOs I've interacted with have been extremely passionate about knowing the customer. And we talk about a lot of data mining today, a lot of analytics today to know the customer. And interestingly, some of the most successful ones of them are people who sort of go out and interact with the customer one-to-one to figure out what he wants. There's this aspect of understanding customer behavior, customer thinking, customer motivations, which help enable them to make fantastic products or offering for the customers. I wanted to bring to the table because whole lot of what I see out here in terms of what we're talking, what fintech is going to do is about empowering customers at the end. And while there's this element of technology, the old element of figuring out what the customer wants, figuring out the kind of experience they need, understanding their motivation, and then bringing that to the product is a cycle that most successful product guys have done that I've interacted with in the past year or so. So that's one point. The other is we've spoken a lot. A lot of these conversation people ask me about what should we do to make this digital business work for us. Plenty of ideas out there. Some will work, some will not work. And what has had a significant focus from a lot of people? What is that will make it work for us? I'm not going to talk about what. I'm sure all of you know much more about it than I do. One thing that I'm going to talk about is the how. Again, in my view, limited experience, and a lot of thought workers out there share that view, that execution is a highly underestimated thing out here. Fantastic ideas, how do we get to the ground and make it happen? How do I make sure that I create a pool of ideas, either internally or collected from the customer, and put them into a rhythm that'll get you ideas to market on an ongoing basis, innovation becoming a practice, collect them and get it out there is highly underestimated in the industry. And in most cases, again, I've seen highly successful companies are the ones which have been able to achieve that. With that, I'll just end my brief thank you. The bar is open, the dinner is served, and let's have it. And the feedbacks, please. Thank you so much.
On that table, on that chart, if you can also put what you think is the future of fintech, like what's one either technology or any other practice that you would want or you think would be the future of fintech. I think would welcome your opinion and thoughts around it as well. Thank you.